I discovered my boyfriend was cheating on me. I didn't know who it was yet. I told my best friend. And she actually blamed me for overthinking. Then I injected extremely spicy chili into a condom with a syringe. That same night, both my best friend and my boyfriend ended up in the emergency room. After work, as soon as I stepped into the neighborhood, I saw a couple arguing, with a crowd of onlookers gathered around. When David Smith came home that evening, I gossiped to him. In the building ahead, there's a couple where the husband cheated. I barely got a sentence out before David frowned and snapped impatiently. Why do you have to butt into everything? You're acting more and more like some old gossipy lady from the village. What does their fight have to do with you? My enthusiasm instantly vanished. What's wrong with you? Didn't we used to talk about this stuff all the time? David gave a fake smile. What used to? You think you're still some innocent, naive girl. You've got a mom bod now. And here you are preaching about pure love. Wake up. Look at our life. Only money puts food on the table. Gossip doesn't fill your stomach. I was so angry I couldn't eat. David paused. Then coaxed. All right. Eat your food properly. Focus on that before anything else. The next day, as I was heading out in the morning, I remembered the flowers I'd ordered were still at the package pickup station. Since David had the day off at home, I reminded him, can you pick up the package for me? And while you're at it, revive the flowers. I'm running late for work. And if I wait till I get back, they'll probably wilt. David was glued to his phone and just grunted in acknowledgement. After a long day of work, I came home to find David still on the couch, scrolling through his phone like he hadn't moved an inch. I thought of the flowers and asked him, did you revive the flowers for me? David seemed startled by my sudden appearance, flipping his phone face down on the coffee table. He looked up at me, scowling. I worked so hard all day, supporting everything in this household. Today was my one rare day off, and you still pile tasks on me. Plus, you barely earn anything. Yet you waste money on flowers. Do you think you're still some rich heiress? If you want a life of luxury, go reconcile with your parents. I slammed the door and headed to the package pickup station. When I got back, seeing the flowers beyond saving made my heart ache. When David and I first got together, he often bought me flowers. Later, he told me those holidays were all just capitalist traps since I'd cut ties with my family. We were just ordinary people who needed to live practically. Back then, I found that romantic. But ever since, there were no more gifts. Not even a single flower. My birthday was coming up, and a couple days ago, I saw fresh cut flowers on a live stream and couldn't resist buying myself a bouquet. Now they were all wilted and ruined. My family was well off. And in my free time, I took up freestyle fighting for fitness. A coach noticed me and had me compete in a few matches, which I loved, and my parents supported it. At the club, I met David. At the time, had just started at a company with a low salary and was working part-time at the club to make ends meet. He was clean-cut, always smiling when he spoke, and his eyes lit up whenever he saw me. When I first got with David, my parents strongly opposed it. My father told me David had the look of a fortune hunter and warned me to stay away. I refused to listen, and after several big fights, I defiantly left with David and cut off all contact with my parents. My father said I'd come crawling back to him someday. But I didn't believe it. Thinking about all this put me in a bad mood all day. After work, I went to my best friend Emily Johnson's place. Emily, I feel like David has changed. His feelings for me have faded. Emily comforted me. You're overthinking it. David treats you well. And we all see that. I even envy you sometimes. So stop worrying over nothing. Anyway, forget your troubles. Did you know I have a new boyfriend? He's just as good as yours. I was taken aback and said helplessly, how is David good? He's lazy, a total chauvinist, and never showers. Emily seemed annoyed. Sophia Brown, sometimes you really are too nitpicky. You're not some Godesto you expect to find a perfect God. I was speechless. And I had to admit Emily had a point. Even if she put it bluntly. Maybe my standards were too high after all. Every couple has their rough patches. I said goodbye to her, went to the market to buy groceries, and planned to cook David a nice dinner to smooth things over. As soon as I walked in, I heard David on the phone in the bathroom. We were living paycheck to paycheck in a tiny rented apartment. And even with the door closed, his voice came through in fragments. Baby. Find you. Suffering. That tomboy. Just then, the door behind me slammed shut. The noise from the bathroom stopped dead. After some rustling sounds, David stuck his head out of the bathroom and yelled loudly. What time do you call this? I worked all day. I'm exhausted. And I come home to no dinner. Are you trying to starve me? I'm going out to eat. David Smith tossed out a sentence and left home. I looked at the vegetables in my hand, unable to figure out how our relationship had come to this. In the evening, when David came home from work, he threw his bag on the shoe cabinet. I accidentally saw a box of condoms in his bag. My heart skipped a beat. We hadn't had sex in 2 months. Could it be that he felt he had been too cold to me lately and wanted to mend things? Yes. He had been under a lot of work pressure lately, which was why his attitude toward me had worsened. And I had blamed him. Feeling relieved, I cooked dinner. David frowned at the plate. Cabbage again. I give you 1,000 yuan for food every month. And you just eat grass all day. I paused, wanting to explain to David that 1,000 yuan couldn't cover meat for every meal, especially with the 1,500 yuan rent. I earn 2,000 a month. After paying rent, it all goes into food. Remembering I wanted to mend the relationship, I held back. Eating vegetables is healthier. I'll cook some meat for you tomorrow. After dinner, David went into the bathroom. He didn't come out for a long time, and there wasn't even the sound of water. I knocked on the door and heard a flurry of noises inside. Then David asked, "What's wrong?" "Nothing. Just wondering why you're taking so long." After some rustling, David came out, stuffing his phone screen first into his pocket. "Why didn't you take a shower?" I was stunned. "Didn't you say I don't like showering? I'm just doing what you want." David hit the pillow and started snoring. I felt a gap, my mood sour, lying in bed staring blankly. Suddenly, I heard David smack his lips a few times and mumble, "Stop it." My mind buzzed, and I couldn't sleep anymore. After thinking for a long time, I picked up my phone and texted my best friend, Emily Johnson. "I think David is cheating." And just now when he was asleep, he seemed to call out a woman's name. Emily replied after a while, "Impossible. It was probably the cat's name. I remember you told me he likes cats. Don't be suspicious all the time. You're making a big deal out of a dream talk." Emily seemed to know David better than I did. The next day, I asked David, "Do you like cats? Let's get one." David glanced at me. "Easy for you to say. With all this pressure, are you going to support it?" He paused, then added, "I heard your best friend likes them too. Why not keep it at her place? That way, we can visit often without having to take care of it." I thought his words were strange. It felt like he was always belittling how little I earned. Apart from my originally wealthy family background, I used to earn a lot from mixed martial arts. My coach said if I trained hard, I could be a national champion. It was David who said, "It's not ladylike for a girl to fight. Come back. I'll support you." That lured me back. I work a 2,000 yuan a month office job and have never regretted it. Somehow, I became the one everyone says is supported by David. I texted Emily to vent. Emily replied, "I'm not criticizing you, but you should improve the man's life a bit. Don't be so stingy and only cook vegetarian meals." I paused. How did she know? But she had a point. The next day, I took the afternoon off and went to the grocery store to buy an old hen to make soup to nourish him. The chicken vendor enthusiastically recommended, "Ghost pepper. Hottest in the world. Want some, boss?" ITLL make the chicken soup exciting. I laughed and scolded the vendor. Shaking my head no. David called to say he was working overtime. I cooled and reheated the chicken soup repeatedly. Sitting at the table hungry and waiting. At midnight, David finally came back. He threw his clothes on the sofa, tossed his bag aside, scooped a spoonful of soup, and sneered. "This is the chicken soup you made. Such a rich girl, even chicken soup turns out watery. With you like this. If I don't want you, who else would marry you? Can't even cook. I thought I found a man." David Smith. "What do you mean? I spent the whole afternoon." I said angrily. "Spending the whole afternoon means I have to be grateful. Get your cooking skills up first. The smell of that chicken soup is disgusting." Ha! A woman who can't cook. After saying that, he went back to the bedroom and fell asleep, slamming the door so hard it echoed. I was furious and hurt. On a whim, I remembered the condoms in his bag and opened it. Me mind went blank instantly. The box of condoms, which had been intact last night, was opened now. I counted them. 3 were missing. I walked over to David Smith, woke him up, my hands trembling. "David, what's going on here?" He was annoyed at being woken. "What do you mean?" I shoved the condom box almost into his face. "What's this about?" Only then did he glance at it, his face paling instantly. And he snatched it away. "Sophia Brown, I bought this for us to use." I loved him, but I wasn't stupid. I laughed bitterly out of anger. "David, I saw it was a full box last night. Why are 3 missing today?" David didn't panic at all. Smiling, he pulled me into his arms and started soothing me. "That was my colleague Wang. At dinner, he said he had a date with his girlfriend, and it was too late to buy any. I remembered I had some in my bag and gave him 3. Sophia, you're really overreacting for no reason, snooping through my bag and doubting me. I don't want this to happen again." His tone turned slightly stern, and I instinctively shrank back, letting him hold me as I nodded. "Get some sleep. I'm exhausted." Seeing that head calmed me down. David fell back asleep. The next day, I was off work, and the more I thought about it, the more it felt off. My unease grew layer by layer. I went to my best friend Emily Johnson's place and told her my suspicions. Emily poured me a glass of water and almost laughed. "Sophia, not to be harsh, but you're overthinking it. How David treats you. We all see it. You earn peanuts a month, and he doesn't even look down on you. He already said he gave them to a colleague. Why are you still overanalyzing?" I frowned, completely surprised that Emily wasn't on my side. She paused, then added in a tone that made me even more uncomfortable. "If you're really this worried about such a good man, if you don't want him, I'll dump my boyfriend and go for David." I left Emily's place feeling humiliated, remembering her words. "Look at you barefaced. No foundation makeup. Skin so rough. What man would like that? You really don't deserve David anymore." Back home, David was already asleep, snoring thunderously. I lay beside him, my doubts still unsettled. I refused to believe I was wrong, or that I was as bad as they said. Taking a deep breath, I picked up his phone charging on the bedside table, unlocked it with his face, and the WeChat chat list popped up. I saw a contact with a kitten avatar named Little Wild Cat. The last message was half an hour ago. "Good night, big bro. Had so much fun today. See you in my dreams." I scrolled up. There was flirtatious banter, explicit invitations, and even David sending intimate photos. "David, babe, you're such a minx. I'll die on you one day." Little Wild Cat, what about that tomboy at home? Can't satisfy you? David, why bring her up? She kills the mood. She's nowhere near as good as you, like a dead fish. I haven't touched her lately. All my stamina is saved for you. David was definitely cheating. I was shaking with rage. I yanked David awake and shoved the phone in his face. "Who is Little Wild Cat?" David, bleary-eyed, saw the chat history and turned ghostly white. How dare you go through my phone? I was too furious to speak. My fists clenched tight enough to crack. David was exposed and decided to throw caution to the wind. Yeah, I cheated. So what? Sophia, look at yourself. A damn MMA fighter. Hard as a rock. Where's your femininity? I was blind to ever think your uniqueness was appealing. Turns out you're just a clueless tomboy. His rage escalated while my head buzzed. I work myself to death every day, only to come home to your stone-cold face. Touching you feels like grating sandpaper. My kitten knows how to sweet-talk and pamper me. What about you? Can you do anything besides throwing punches? Screw composure. I trained in MMA for over a decade not to swallow abuse from scum like him. Bam! A clean straight punch smashed into his face. David howled, blood gushing from his nose. Femininity. Let me show you real femininity. I treated him like a punching bag. Fists, side kicks, elbows all finding their mark. As a pro, I knew precisely where to strike for maximum pain without permanent damage. David curled into a ball on the floor, helplessly shrieking, "Psycho! Lunatic! Get out! Get out of my house! Your house!" I paused, panting, staring at the pathetic heap. I pay the rent. 2 more kicks landed hard. I hauled him up by the collar and flung him out. After kicking David out, I collapsed on the sofa and sobbed, realizing how foolish I'd been to sacrifice so much for him. Hours later, drained and lost, I found myself outside Emily's place. I pounded on her door between tears. When she finally answered, I clung to her and wept violently, cursing David between gasps. Emily offered half-hearted reassurances. Distracted, exhausted. I tried to step inside when my eyes caught something at the base of her shoe rack, the familiar edge of a man's shoe peeking out. Spotting my gaze, Emily flushed and stammered, "Sophia. That's my boyfriend's." Oh, Emily had a boyfriend. I buried my face against her shoulder and cried even harder. Back home, I sat numb on the couch until the lock clicked. David walked in holding a bag of barbecue skewers. Fury surged through me, but before I could react, he dropped to his knees. "Sophia, I was wrong, but I swear, those messages you saw were just drunk nonsense. Nothing physical happened. I'm exhausted, emotionally empty, in trash. Absolute garbage. Please forgive me. Let's go back to how things were." Look, he gestured at his battered face. "I still waited in line for hours to get your favorite barbecue." Staring at his injuries, memories of our shared struggles flooded back, twisting my resolve. If what he said was true, perhaps I could give him a chance. Seeing my expression soften, David Smith kowtowed twice with a thud. "Sophia Brown, I was wrong. Forgive me. If you don't forgive me, I'll keep kneeling." I stood up, took out the first aid kit, and handed it to him. "Take care of your injuries first." David was overjoyed and handed me the barbecue. "Sophia, you eat first. I can handle it myself. It's almost cold." I subconsciously took it. David moved to the sofa with the first aid kit to tend to his wounds. I glanced at the packaging bag. The staple pin from the delivery receipt was still at the opening. My mind buzzed, and the earlier softening in my heart vanished instantly. This man hadn't spoken a word of truth. Won't admit it until he's cornered. Then he'll find the evidence. The next day, I went to the market, bought ghost peppers, came home, mashed them into a thick paste, and then filled a syringe to the brim. While David was asleep, I took out the condoms from his bag and injected each one without exception. But I never expected that what I saw in the emergency room was David and my best friend, Emily Johnson. I had thought that since David had just begged me, he wouldn't dare to act so quickly. I didn't expect him to be in such a hurry. That is, the night after I put the ghost pepper paste in, David started working overtime again. I had a hunch something would happen. And sure enough, at around 9 o'clock, I got a call from David's childhood friend. "Sis, It's bad. David Smith. He's in the hospital. Emergency. I felt a surge of joy inside but feigned urgency. What happened? I don't know. He suddenly called me, saying down there. Down there hurts terribly, burning like fire, and told me to rush him to the hospital. I saw his face turn pale from pain, sweating profusely. I think he's too embarrassed to tell you. But this is such a big deal. I had to let you know. I mentally praised him. Which hospital? I'm on my way. Sis. The childhood friend hesitated. I pressed. What is it? Could you not mention that I called you when you get here? I understood immediately. It seemed I had caught the mistress this time. Oh David. Oh David. Even your childhood friend can't stand it. I nodded solemnly. Don't worry. I'll remember your kindness. In the emergency room, David was curled up on a bed in the observation ward. His face ashen, forehead covered in sweat. His childhood friend stood by, wringing his hands, looking helpless. And on the next bed lay Emily. I stared at them in disbelief, and they were equally shocked to see me. David glared at his friend and snapped viciously. Was it you? The childhood friend frantically waved his hands. I cut in. I had stomach trouble and came here. I saw your name on the emergency room below and came to check. What's going on? David's face changed as he tried to make excuses. It's nothing. Just a fall. But Emily beside him wouldn't pretend anymore. David. She knows everything. She's a bitch. She's clearly here to watch our humiliation. She's the one who did this to us. With the mask off. I didn't want to pretend either. I had suspected Emily. But seeing it was really her, my heart still ached. I felt like all those years of genuine affection had gone to the dogs. Emily Johnson. You have no conscience. I truly considered you a friend. Yet you came to steal my boyfriend. Emily sat up abruptly. But the pain below made her break out in a cold sweat as she clutched herself and sat back down. I stole your boyfriend. Sophia Brown. You're ridiculous. You flaunt your relationship in front of me every day. Who are you trying to disgust? How dare you? How dare you live better than me? Her voice was hysterical as she continued to rage. You're truly evil-minded. I knew I wasn't wrong about you. How could you use such vicious tricks against us? And you ask if we have a consciencito. You call me your best friend and you harm me like this. I was almost amused by her twisted logic, blaming me. Did I force her to hook up with my boyfriend? What's the difference between that and stealing a rotten melon from someone's field? Getting sick. And blaming the farmer. David Smith was reminded by Emily. And it finally dawned on him. He glared at me fiercely. Fine. You bitch. It was you. You tampered with my condom. Don't make accusations without evidence. I warned them. David, overwhelmed by emotion, ignored his discomfort and stood up to hit me. Emily saw his move and immediately stood up to charge at me. I sneered inwardly, what fools. Forgetting the last beating. Fighting me. The two of them combined weren't a match. I nimbly stepped back a few paces and exited the emergency room. Outside the emergency room, curious onlookers had gathered without me noticing. Several people were holding up phones to record, their faces eager for drama. Even a few nurses hid phones under their arms, secretly filming. I quickly calculated and sat down on the floor, wailing like a shrew. I can't go on living. My best friend hooked up with my boyfriend, caused a scene that landed them in the hospital. And now they're trying to beat me up. How am I supposed to live? Whoa! A commotion erupted from the onlookers, mixed with gleeful laughter and angry shouts. David and Emily, seeing so many people, hurriedly covered their faces, too distracted to come after me. With all the filming, they endured the agony, wrapped their heads in jackets, and slunk away from the hospital. That night, gossip about the drama spread wildly across social media platforms. News of a boyfriend cheating with a best friend, ending up in the hospital, and publicly assaulting the original partner flooded everywhere. The mouths of the gossipers spat words 10,000 times more vicious than mine. I took a day off work and spent it at home following my own drama. I could easily imagine how miserable David and Emily must be under the onslaught. Both proud people, especially David, whose job was probably on the line after this mess. As I was engrossed in the gossip, a familiar phone number called. My mood plummeted at the sight of it. A wave of intense grievance surged from my heart, hitting my nose, making it sting as tears instantly streamed down. It was my father's call. I steadied myself and pressed answer. The moment his voice came through, my barely composed emotions shattered again. When wronged, I could hold back tears, but a loved one's comfort broke me completely. Especially from someone I'd hurt so carelessly. My father sighed on the other end and listened quietly as I cried. When I finally cried myself out, he spoke. Sophia, don't cry. You still have us. No one's journey is smooth. Making a wrong turn isn't scary, but staying wrong is. Now. This has shown you David's true colors. And it's not too late. Sniffling, I whimpered softly. My father chuckled. Don't cry. Crushing him is a breeze for our family. Tell me what outcome you want, and I'll handle it. Amused by his bossy talk, I replied through tears and laughter. Dad, you taught me never to be a coward since I was little. I want to resolve this myself completely, just wait for me. Trust me. After hanging up, I sat at home dazed. I'd talked big, but I honestly had no plan yet. Scrolling idly through my phone, I suddenly sat bolt upright. The online narrative had shifted without warning. Stop spreading lies. What I know isn't like that. Yes, there's a twist to this matter. I heard that the woman, frustrated and seeking thrills, tampered with her best friend's condom out of jealousy. How vicious and terrifying. She looks so innocent, but she's actually awful. What? I was just thinking how difficult it is for an affair and hospitalization to happen. But it turns out she was set up. She wanted to cut off his family line. Truly a witch. David Smith has several social media influencer friends. I know he spent money to hire online trolls. Usually, he's stingy with me, giving me only $1,000 out of his $10,000 monthly salary. And I used to treasure him. But now, buying trolls doesn't bother him. However, with this commotion, I feel relieved. I was thinking of retaliating more fiercely. And since they're still asking for trouble, it's not my fault. Bang, bang, bang. The banging on the door woke me up. I glanced at my phone. 3:10 a.m. Who would knock at this hour? My heart tightened, and I quietly walked to the peephole to look outside. A burly man with tattooed arms, his face full of malice, was pounding on the door, cursing foully. Bitch, open up. If you don't, I'll break the door down. I was agitated, but I quickly understood the situation. I yanked the door open. The burly man outside saw my slender frame and looked me up and down with a lecherous expression, asking for death. The moment his hand reached out, I moved, sidestepping, blocking, grabbing his wrist, applying force. The sequence was lightning fast. Crack. A sickening crunch. The man screamed in agony. His wrist bent at a grotesque angle. I delivered a low sweep kick hard against the side of his knee. Thud. His massive body crashed to the ground. The next few seconds became my personal venting session. The man went from cursing in anger to screaming in pain and finally begging with his toothless mouth. Stop. Ma'am. Spare me. Spare me. Someone paid me to scare you. I'll tell you everything. Stop. I held him underfoot, and he confessed tearfully. It was your boyfriend and best friend who paid me. They said they couldn't fight you, so they found me, a tough guy, to scare you. And maybe take some advantage. Ha! I almost laughed. He still knew nothing about my fighting skills. But now, I had an idea. I tore my nightgown and applied some bruised makeup. I dialed David's number. When the call connected, my terrified cries reached David's ears. David, come save me. Ah, what are you doing? Help. I hung up at the perfect moment. I knew David Smith all too well. After the humiliation I'd put him through, he'd be itching to see me suffer firsthand. There was another crucial reason. David had gotten close to me precisely to exploit my inheritance. Just as my father warned, offering him this chance to return, he'd never refuse. Sure enough, within 20 minutes, the elevator dinged. I signaled the thug. Gritting through pain, he theatrically tore at my clothes as rehearsed. The moment David appeared in the doorway, the thug shoved me aside and bolted, denying David a clear look at his battered state. David rushed in, seeing me trembling and disheveled. A flash of satisfaction flickered in his eyes before he masked it with urgent concern. What happened? I threw myself into his arms, sobbing hysterically. Woo-woo. I'm calling the police. I want him locked up. David paled. A police report would expose his role in this. He grabbed my phone hand, pleading, "Don't. A girl's reputation is ruined if this gets out. How could you face anyone? What would people think?" I inwardly sneered but clung to him desperately. "David, only you care about me. I'm so sorry I hit you. It'll change. I swear. Please don't leave me." Smugness spread across his face as he patted my back. "Damn right it's me. You treated me like trash. Yet here I am. Now you're tainted. Who else would want you but me?" I almost laughed at his audacity. I just wanted to vent my anger, but he'd waltzed back in like a queen returning to her throne. In his mind, he'd already won, devouring me, seizing my wealth, riding into the sunset. Disgusted, I played the broken victim. "David, I was wrong. So wrong. You forgave me. You're the only one who loves me. I'll make it up to you." "Thank you, David." He beamed, tightening his grip. "You'd better remember that." We slipped back into our old routine. Online gossip died within days, buried by celebrity scandals. No one cared about nobodies like us. With my ruined purity as his leverage, David grew bolder, ordering me around with ease. I obeyed every whim except when he pushed for intimacy. I'd cite trauma, begging for time. He didn't press. Emily Johnson was his outlet for animal urges anyway. That scumbag and that bitch. Neither would escape me. After 2 weeks of this charade, I was done. I bought a soft boar bristle brush from the hardware store. Time for payback. Quitting my job freed my schedule for the finale. While David was at work, I meticulously brushed every pair of his underwear. The bristles left no visible marks, but tiny fibers clung to the fabric. By day 3, he was constantly scratching his crotch. I pretended not to notice, waiting. That evening, I cooked dinner. As we ate, I cast a video from my phone to the TV. David scoffed. "Living the high life. Huh? Watching videos during meals now." I apologized meekly but let it play. After a few clips, a medical explainer started detailing STI symptoms with graphic clarity. David froze mid-bite, his face darkening. I feigned innocence. The picture of concern. "What's wrong?" "Work stress. If you're tired, don't work so hard. At worst, I'll go back and beg my parents." How could they ignore their only daughter? David Smith perked up, then put down his chopsticks. "It's fine. I am a bit tired. I'll go rest for a bit." Then he took his phone and went back to his room. I sneered inwardly, thinking that looking up symptoms online, even a mosquito bite could be diagnosed as cancer. Sure enough, as I expected, before I even finished washing the dishes, David hurried out of the room. He tossed out a company needs overtime and left. How could I miss this show? I put down the bowl in my hand and followed David out. Sure enough, David got on the bus to Emily Johnson's house. I cursed under my breath, calling him stingy. Hailed a cab and arrived at Emily's house first. Emily lived on the 3rd floor. I hid in the stairwell on the 4th floor, waiting for David to appear. After more than 10 minutes, David finally arrived. I moved closer, listening as David called Emily to open the door. Emily thought David had come for some intimacy, but as soon as she appeared, David slapped her directly across the face. Emily was stunned, covering her face and looking at David in disbelief. "What's wrong with you?" David was furious. "What's wrong with me? Tell me. Have you been messing around outside? I've got an STD. I've only been sleeping with you recently. Tell me, where did this come from?" Emily turned pale with fright. "What? You have an STD? Then I've been infected too. Damn you." Neither of them had sorted out the logic and started fighting each other. I watched from the stairwell, marveling. So this is what amateurs fighting looks like. The fight had no technique at all. How could that hurt? They were reckless. What if something serious happened? Unexpectedly. Just as I thought that, a change occurred at the scene. With a cry of alarm, David, under Emily's strong push, slammed into the window at the end of the hallway. The window was wide open, and it shouldn't have been possible to fall out. But perhaps because David had done too many heartless things, he actually tumbled headfirst out. Emily turned pale with terror, looked down from the window, and was scared stiff. Soon after, noisy sounds came from below. Someone fell from the building. I hurried down and saw David lying in a pool of blood. But he was quite lucky. The third floor isn't very high, so it didn't kill him. Although not dead, he was trembling all over, only able to look at the people around with pleading eyes. I rushed over, crying, and dialed the police and ambulance numbers. As he was being taken away in the ambulance, I held his hand tightly, acting affectionately. "David, I'll go see you after I explain things to the police. You'll be fine." The police arrived quickly, and I told them the whole story from beginning to end. I said that I had suspected my boyfriend of many years sneaking out, so I followed to check. As a result, I found my boyfriend and my best friend Emily in a struggle, and he was pushed down the building by Emily. Following my statement, the police quickly caught the fleeing Emily who had committed the crime. I sat by David's hospital bed, waiting for him to wake up. When David opened his eyes and saw me, there was actually a trace of regret in his eyes. I said with a smile, "David, it's okay. It's just paralysis. Your life is saved. And being alive is a good thing." David's eyes widened in disbelief as he heard my words. Then he tried to move his leg but found he couldn't control it at all. The shock was too great. He rolled his eyes and passed out again. 3 days later, David's parents came from out of town, and I handed him over to them. "Mr. and Mrs. Smith, under these circumstances, I shouldn't leave David. But the fact that he had an affair with my best friend Emily is something I can never forgive. Please understand." David's parents turned purple with rage, wanting to scold me but couldn't find an angle to do so. I smiled and left the hospital. Soon after, the police results came out, and as the reporter, I learned the final outcome of this matter. David Smith insisted that Emily Johnson had pushed him down on purpose and was determined to have Emily convicted. The police reviewed the surveillance footage and, after a thorough investigation, concluded it was involuntary manslaughter, resulting in a 3-year prison sentence. When I received this news, I was sparring with my coach. Seeing I had finished the call, my coach threw my boxing gloves at me. "Stop daydreaming. You're falling behind so much. How long will it take to catch up?" My mother, who had come to watch my training, chimed in. "Coach, don't go easy on her." I looked at them and couldn't help but grin. A year later, I finally stood on the podium I had dreamed of. Thank you for watching today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and share it with your friends. We look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments. Feel free to share your perspectives. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting stories. See you next time.